Hello, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. It's still the 29th of August 2018, and I was thinking about all the pop stars and rock stars and rich people and celebrities and movie stars and moguls and entrepreneurs and all those people that we see on television all the time, that most of us, even around the world, will know their names. I mean, there are quite a fair few of people, who will know who Paul McCartney is, or Beyonce, or Phil Collins, or Elton John, Michael Jackson, all these names where there are certain people that nearly everyone in the world will know. But it doesn't really matter, that part of it. I don't really know why I'm explaining that more, but the world we live in, I know this is my theme, I'm talking about too much these days, and I think we can all agree, I assume we can all agree, that the world we're living in is not the best way it possibly could be. I'll get into that later, there's a bit more I want to talk about that, but in the sense of the injustice, the inequality, the poverty, the starvation, the wars, all sorts of different things that are happening around the world at this very minute. People dying of things that we've already cured, all those types of things. So I think we can all agree that the world could be better. I'm not saying it's not, good, but I mean, it could be much, much better, much fairer. We've got to believe in that, surely. Anyway, but the fact is, all these celebrities that have, me, I can say this every single day of my life until the day I die, and it's not going to make any difference. But those people with power and celebrity who champion so-called these types of things, how many songs are about love, peace, a better world, all these kinds of things. Well, but their money that they're making off these things, and I know I follow a lot of these artists and I like them and admire them, and I think they're great songwriters or singers or celebrities or whatever, but take that away from it, but actually look at it, through, I was going to say, non-human eyes. What are they actually doing? Yeah, okay, it's great to sing a song about something. You're making lots of money out of singing about, poverty or change the world or, peace and love. And that money's sitting in a bank. Okay, some artists, they may do good causes, they may go around the world, speak about things, they may give money. But they have the power and the influence, surely, if anyone does, to make these changes that we small little people are unable to. Can't they? Or is it impossible? How many people does it need to change this existence? Or maybe it needs thousands of years, like it took us thousands of years to get to this point. But I don't see them, talking about the same things that we talk about, irrespective of flat earth and false flag and all those kinds of things. Because if we lived in this world where it was better and fair and just and equal, and everyone had a house and everyone, supported each other and did the things that they need to do, we didn't waste time with competition, which is the main waste of our life, the main waste of our resource as a human being, is competition. That there's Honda, there's Ferrari, there's BMW, there's Volkswagen, there's Skoda. Some of them are even the same company. There's Procter and Gamble, there's Heinz, there's Tesco's, there's Asda, there's Sainsbury's, there's Walmart, there's Virgin, there's Sky, there's BBC, there's ABC, there's CABC, there's CNN, there's Sky News. And all these different companies that are competing against each other just so that we can keep the cogs and the wheels, as I was talking about before, running. They could be producing exactly the same thing. How many reality shows are almost the same format? How many Britain's Got Talent, X Factor, Pop Star, whatever you want to call it, they're all the same show, all making the same thing, just for competition, just to get your viewer, just to get your money, just to get your attention. This waste. But these celebrities could say something about all this. Maybe they'd get laughed at. Probably they would, because that's the thing that often worries me as well, that the people that actually really think that this world can be much better are very, very minute. They're small. They're not the great majority. So of course, if that's the case, if there is small minority of people that actually want change, and the rest of the majority are quite happy with the world as it is, well, then I'm wasting my time. And then maybe that's why celebrities don't do it, because they don't want to, stand on a high pedestal, talk about change, talk about, or actually do something. The thing is, I don't know who would do the doing to change the world we live in, because the problem is it's so vast, isn't it? All the different countries. How many countries are there on this plane of existence? 300? I don't know how many countries there are. How many billions of people, if whatever the figure is. How do you go about? Because we got to this stage through graduation. It wasn't just overnight. But I just see a lot of these celebrities, a lot of these famous people that we all admire, that we put up high on a pedestal and say, oh great, they've just written a song about love and peace, isn't it brilliant? Let's change the world. Oh look, they've just done a film that talks about the suffering of this person or that person or these people. But wait a minute, someone's cashing in on that. Yeah, it may make you awake, it may make you realise about the subject, but then it goes away again, because that's another thing about humans, that we have like very short attention spans, like fish. Something would be trending, it would be a topic, people would be yeah, and then suddenly in a week something else, and it hasn't changed, and all that effort and energy that went into this message is gone. I think sometimes that's the problem, because it's easy for me to think about, this world, it's a terrible place, and how can you make it better? But the problem is it's so much more difficult. And I don't know whether it's even possible. That's what I was saying before, isn't it? I don't know how would you go about changing this existence? How would you change all these people's minds? How would you make them more aware of that the way we're living is a choice, and it's a bad choice, and there's a much better one that we could all be living. But then the problem is, what is that? Which is sort of the next thing that I was going to talk about, is, because I was talking about before, like, our main reason, well, in God's terms, the main reason for us being here is to worship Him and to be free, I guess, isn't it? But non-God, the actual world, reality, the reason we're here is to produce, is to make things, is to keep things going, is to earn money. Because you have, they will say, you have a choice. You work or you don't work. Now, if you don't work, you don't get anything. It's not like this world is free and you can go and live somewhere else or do this, that, and the other. Yeah, you can live on the streets, but you won't get medical care, you won't get all the other things. You won't be able to live, like the rest of us, to get a house, to get food, to get electricity, to get water, all of those things you have to pay for. So the only way you can do that is by having a job. So that's our main purpose as man, is to work. That's what we do for a majority of our lives. And some people get really into it and they become managers and they own their own companies and they make lots of money and they spend hours and hours and hours overtime keeping these businesses and competing and all that kind of stuff. But if we didn't have that, because that is, if you look at it, that is what we do for a majority of our lives, what we've been doing for hundreds of years. But if we didn't have that, what would we replace it with? Because to me it seems like, well, the problem is then you're thinking like, well, hold on a minute, even if you don't have any work, you still need people who are going to do things, because we still need hospitals, we still need doctors, we still need police, as it were, we still need maybe some form of government, we still need schools, we still need cars, we still need food, we still need water, we still need electricity. But the thing is, we wouldn't need if we got rid of competition, if we got rid of making the same product just to earn the money for yourself rather than somebody else, then we wouldn't need as many people working. But it doesn't mean they didn't have to. It would mean that, but then the problem is would people actually, work for nothing? Would they actually do things if they knew that other people weren't doing things? And I see that that's probably a big problem, because there are people out there who cry and moan about people who are on benefit and people who don't work. So I don't know whether, but the thing is then I was thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe it's about our education, because the way we're brought up is instilled in us about, you've got to get a job, what you're going to do when you grow up, what you're going to be, what's your career, let's do some work experience, let's give you skills so that you can, work, logical skills and that kind of thing. You don't need to think, you just need to be able to do things with your hands and do work. So maybe it's a mindset thing. Are we selfish as a species by nature, or is it by nurture? If we were taught a better way of not worrying about gain. I remember I saw, whose video was it? Was it Jonah Worms? About, I think it was either Hindu or Sikh philosophy of karma and dharma, stuff like that. Where if we were taught a better way of existence, of our reality being changed, because that's what I was trying to say before. We're all blank canvases when we're born as babies. If you had a baby and you put it in a different country, it doesn't matter where it was born, it doesn't matter who it was born to, where you put it, that education system is what that child is going to be. So that's another one of these reasons why, when people say, well, how is it possible that you could be lied to? Well, wait a minute, you're taught everything. You're taught how to think, you're taught how to feel, you're taught everything. Maybe some things you're not taught there, intuition, and they're part of your DNA or part of your experience. But majority of you as a being has been taught to you. Even if you don't realise it, when you're taught, in geography or history or English or maths, you're taught to look at things a certain way. Your mind soaks up all these things. You're taught through television, through your interactions with your parents, your friends, your peers. But is it possible then to change these things or not? Well, yeah, you could say, obviously, if you start at scratch with those babies, you could make them into the perfect human beings that are taught not about competing, human beings that are taught about doing things for free, not worrying what the next person's doing, but so that's possible. The problem is, how would you do that? Because the thing is you could say, well, that already happens in schools. Schools do teach kids to look at one another in the same way as they do themselves. But the problem is then there's TV and there's parents, who come with their old kind of thinking and then instill it on their children. Why is it in this day and age you still get kids who turn out to be racist, or turn out to be thugs, or turn out to want to kill people, or turn out to do this, that and the other? It's a cycle that's going round and round, but how would you break that? That would be so difficult. That's maybe why I've mentioned before, H.G. Wells had it right when he said it'd have to be some kind of nuclear explosion, some kind of war, something catastrophic that would reduce us back to basics, and we'd have to start again, and that's where we could. But the problem is the people that are there have all been taught, all been trained to be selfish, to think about themselves, to think in this way, mindset that we have now of competing, of manufacturing, of working. So the problem is how do you get out of this cycle now? I suppose the easiest way was we will go to a different planet, if there is such a thing, and we start fresh. But the problem is we go with the same teachings, Most people, the problem is all those people in power, they probably think this world is brilliant. And it would be for them because they have everything that they want. They don't feel the suffering. They don't feel the injustice and the inequality, because if they did, why would their money still be in the bank, just creating interest for them that they're never, ever, ever, ever going to spend? Why would they still have the need for money? Why would they still have the desire in their hearts, like the majority of people have, to compete, to have something, to own something? It's like I was saying before when I was talking about, land and stuff like that. This land, if you believe in God, it was given to all of us. It wasn't said, this is for you, this is for you, this is for you. You can go into this, because you're the first people who got there, you can put a flag in it and say that's yours. What do you mean that's yours? How do you own something that was never yours? If I go to a country and there's no one there, what do you think? How do you think I have the right to say that's mine? If you made something, you could say that was yours. But wait a minute, where did you make all this stuff from? You made all this stuff from the stuff that's all around you, that was given to you. But that's our kind of selfish mindset and competing mindset of. But we still have that. That is as devolved as you possibly could think. But we still have that kind of mindset, and we're still not letting go of it. And people will champion that kind of thing of, this is my country, this is my rights, without actually realising how divisive and how small-minded and backwards that kind of thinking is. But that's my worry, that getting out of this cycle is an impossibility. Because there's just too much time, too much history, too many people. I was going to say not enough love to go around. Where's that from? Burst into song. It's quite depressing when you think about it. That you could spend your whole life. I mean, how many people have spent their whole lives? Philanthropists. If you've ever read George Orwell's works, or H.G. Wells, or The Ragged Trousers Philanthropist, if you ever read all those things, all those people, Charles Dickens, they talked about this kind of thing. Maybe not as in quite the same way, but they talked about all these things, and lots of other people have talked about these things, and songs and poems have been written about all this kind of stuff, and great thinkers have thought about this, but nothing's changed. Or maybe it's just me because I'm stuck in a time, isn't it? And we don't take that into consideration, that we're born and we die, and this world was going before me and it will go after me, and I'm just in the time that I'm within. It's like if I'd been born in the 15th century, I'll probably live to about 30 and then die of TB. Or if I was like 0 AD, I could have been a slave building pyramids or something. So we're all stuck in the time that we're within. So maybe that's the way I'm looking at it, because it's a linear thing, it's a human failing to look things like that, that I'm thinking that change should happen when I'm alive, which is, considering where we are and how we've been going that way, the train can't stop that quickly. So I guess really my words probably will go on deaf ears for a majority. I should just hope that YouTube is around in like 300 years time, and that people will listen to this then and we'll be able to do something about it. Or maybe that change has already taken place and they will laugh and say, oh, look at him, eh? Or we'll have destroyed ourselves by then and we'll all be dead and it won't matter. I don't know what you all think, whether you think it is possible. I was thinking, like, if someone could, put something out on the television, a poll on the BBC, and ask people, or started a petition, and there was like a referendum, but God, it took so long to get the Brexit referendum and the Scottish referendum. Imagine asking a question like, are you happy with the life you have? Do you think it's fair? Do you think we should make change? That's too many questions. And it would be interesting to see what the vast majority of people, obviously if it's some kind of government thing, most people won't probably bother I don't know, like maybe it needs to be some kind of app, some kind of interactive thing. You know, it's no good me doing it because I don't have enough followers, but somebody who has a lot of followers, if they could ask that question, it would be interesting to see what the results would be. Some kind of Twitter poll or YouTube poll or well, I don't know what, but if it would go around the world and we would see genuinely, do people really want change, or are they happy with their lot, with this existence? Do they think that it's fair that in some countries they're dropping bombs on them? Some countries, you know, I'm talking to a bloody phone, yeah, and then I'm going to upload it on YouTube, and then I'll, you know, look after my twins, and eat, and go to bed, and then go to work, and do more of the same stuff over and over again. Some people at this moment will be scared for their lives, will be hearing the sounds of gunfire in some war-torn country where the wars never end, or some gas, you know, that's going to kill them, or bombs dropped on them, or they're dying of malnutrition because they're starving, because the country they live in, they care about making bombs and care about keeping their pockets lined. Or in this country, there could be someone sleeping out on the street in the cold where there's rain. Or there could be some child that's being abused or beaten. Or there could be someone who's taking their last breath at this very second. I remember there was a calculator I saw on the internet before. It probably wasn't very accurate, it was probably based on statistics, but it showed like the amount of people living, being born and dying around the world. Every second you saw someone dying. Imagine that. We don't think of that because we don't see it around us, but since I've been doing this 21 minutes, how many people have died? How many people have been born? How many people have taken their last glance at this existence? How many people have cried? How many people have jumped over a bridge or stood in front of a train? How many people are planning something monstrous to do, or something good? All these little variables that we don't see because we can only see through our own two eyes. We can't experience what every single person is going through at this moment. People who have, you know, their newborn baby and is dying of cholera, or is dying of TB, or is dying of some disease that we've cured, that we give vaccinations for. I know people talk about the mercury and all that kind of stuff and vaccinations. And I know there's been genetic programs. I saw, I think it was on Subtle and Infinity, it was Bill Clinton apologising for testing that was done on people in America. I was shocked. I didn't believe that was true. That sounded so much like a conspiracy theory, but it was Bill Clinton actually apologising for when they were testing patients but without asking them or giving them, you know, like, do you mind if we test this on you and sign this document first? Like trials, as it were. Imagine all the suffering and pain that's going on. How many people does it need to be before you say, wait a minute, can't we all just come up with something better? Can't we give up this existence and start a new one? Oh, but I know I sound so hippyish then, isn't it? What's the possibility of that happening? Of people changing, of people wanting a difference, of suddenly turning around and saying, no more. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want people to suffer on my watch when I'm alive. I don't want people to look back at me and say, I did nothing. I said nothing. I didn't make a change. And then tomorrow will come and we'll wake up and it'll be the same thing. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the answer is. It's possible. There is no such thing. I mean, the main thing is, like, do people actually really like this world? Do people really like the fact that... Because there's some people, they won't mind. You know, there's a lot of people out there that won't mind that there's other countries where people are suffering, then they're dying. You know, there's you hear people like Bill Gates and other people talk about, you know, decreasing the population. They start to sound like Ebenezer Scrooge. Because people are worried about the amount of people that are on this planet, even though this planet, if you actually looked at its resources, could supply, what is it, it's like 3 times the amount of people. If there is actually 7 billion, it could, like 300 billion or something people it could actually supply. But the problem is we cordon all the food and all the things off into different things, and they're probably worried about people immigrating and trying to come over to their country and filling it up as if it's theirs. Anyway, that's enough, I think. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.